All right, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. It is Tuesday, April 29th, year of our Lord 2025. And today we're going to do something we haven't done in a while. We're going to talk a little bit about G3, but I'm going to get G3s back just a little bit. And also, lots of nostalgia to talk about. All right. We're going to start with the fun stuff. So maybe fast forward 5 minutes or so to get to the G3 stuff. But this weekend was just a fantastic weekend. Well, I guess it was partially this weekend and then partially yesterday as well. But lots of nostalgia. Over the weekend, I took my kids to see Revenge of the Sith in the movie theater, which, man, it brought back a lot of memories. I remember the first time I saw Revenge of the Sith in the theater, and man, if you would have told me that I'd be there with 3 of my sons watching the same movie in the theater, I would have told you were nuts. I didn't think I'd have any kids when I was that age, much less 4 sons. Obviously the young one, he's too young to go to the theater, but just a great movie. Absolutely a great film, and the kids loved it. They've seen it before, but just a great time overall. Lots of fun. But then also, my kids, since the last time you and I spoke, have had some Little League games. And, my 2 middle sons are in like a coach pitch league where it's not that serious. They don't keep track of outs. They don't keep track of that kind of stuff. It's just more about skills development and all of that. But my oldest son, this is his first time in a league that you can strike out in, and they keep track of outs and, you can steal bases and stuff like that. And very successful first time. And it was funny that before the game, one of his little friends was psyching him all out. He was saying that, the opposing team has this pitcher who's very low accuracy but throws really hard, and my son was all nervous about it. And I told him a story about myself. I still remember the kid's name. When I was his age, there was this one kid who threw really hard, and he was wild, completely wild. And he struck fear in the entire league, including myself. I was scared. You know what I mean? And his name was Hector Rodriguez. And he was bigger than all of us, and he probably was older than all of us. Nobody, I don't think anyone checked his birth certificate when he got into the league. But he threw really hard, and he was very wild. And I remember telling my son, I said, look, here's the thing. If he's wild, you'll probably walk number 1. But if you do get the bat on the ball, it's going to go a long way because all the energy is being provided by how hard he's throwing. And so that kind of helped him feel better. So overall, what happened in the game was he went 0 for 1 with 2 walks and 2 runs. And he got out on a pretty sharply hit ground ball, but it hit it right to the first baseman. So it was an easy play for the first baseman. But overall, very successful. He hung in there, and he was putting some good swings on the better pitches. In Little League, they have to expand the zone, otherwise everybody walks. So he was a little bit perturbed with some high strike calls and stuff like that. But that's part of the game too. You got to learn that whatever the umpire says, that just is what it is. You just got to deal with it. But it was very fun. And brought back a lot of memories from my own time in Little League, which I loved so much. I played a lot of baseball when I was a kid. It was just great. So there's that. But yeah, let's just shift gears here. Well, before we shift gears from baseball completely, the Mets are still right now best record in the league, playing very well, very good baseball. They lost a bad game the other day, and then yesterday they showed up and put up 19 runs. I mean, you can't respond to a bad loss in a better way. Just absolutely fantastic. But in any case, let's talk about G3 for a minute. I want to sort of get G3s back just a little bit because listen, we've had our differences, and I've made fun of the G3 people quite a bit. And so you might think all AD is going to pile on the latest cringe. But you know what? If you think that, well, I'm just here to tell you you're wrong. I've got a little bit of empathy, you might say. Is that the gay one, or is that, I forget which was the gay, it was just the gay one. But I got a little sympathy for G3 here. So somebody it's pretty brutal. I mean, G3 has a conference coming up, as they often do. And they've got different they have tiered pricing. If you can attend the conference for a certain rate, and then you can get like the bonus super duper pass, and it offers extra things for a higher rate, right? And so G3's got the tiered ticketing system. So G3's got what they're calling a legacy pass. Sounds really cool, the legacy pass. And here's what you get for $977. A lot of people are focused on the price. I'm going to tell you why I think that's a mistake in just a minute. But $977, a very, very carefully thought out price. Here's what you get. You get an exclusive meet and greet with a plenary speaker. I don't know if you get to choose whichever speaker you want or if it's just whatever you get, but you get an exclusive meet and greet with a plenary speaker. And the description of that is enjoy a private gathering with one of our plenary speakers before the conference begins. This intimate setting allows for personal interaction, photos, and meaningful conversation. So that's part of the legacy pass for $977. You also get reserved seating for all sessions. And here's the description. Skip the crowds and enjoy premium seating in the main session hall, ensuring the best views for every message and worship session. You'll also have access to designated legacy seating in the breakout sessions. So not only do you get the exclusive meet and greet where you can take your photos and have some personal interaction with the plenary speaker, but you also get reserved seating with the best views of everything throughout the conference. And then, of course, they've got the last thing you get is access to the G3 Legacy Lounge. Relax in a dedicated legacy space with complimentary food and beverages, comfortable seating, and an atmosphere perfect for networking and discussions with other professionals, ministry leaders, and like-minded believers. You get all that for $977. Now, I saw this from Ryan Denton, and Ryan Denton's comment on this is $1,000 to meet a plenary speaker and get a good seat. Cringe. And it is cringe. I mean, let's just face it, guys. This is where I'm going to start to get G3's back just a little bit. I mean, conferences are kind of cringe just in general. Let's just face it. Let's just accept the fact. If you're one of these conference guys, and listen, I go to conferences that I'm invited to speak at or whatever. So I'm part of this. I'm part of the cringe. I'm not saying that I'm better than you. I'm part of the cringe. But man, there's a lot about conferences that are a little cringe, and we can all accept it and kind of have a good laugh at our own expense, right? We all get it, right? We all get it. And I think that here's the thing. This is standard cringe, in my opinion, right? Standard conference cringe. We all get it. We all know. But I will say there was one thing here, just one thing, that really got me kind of, a little bit, all up in arms, right? I started feeling those feelings, on the inside. Big feelings, And that was this little section here where it talks about the reserve seating. And you get to enjoy the premium seating for the best views of every message. And then here's the thing that got me. You get the best views, if you pay for it, for the worship sessions. That one was that just got me, man. That just got me. And here's the thing. Listen, if you guys haven't seen it, please look up on my channel conversation that I had with Pastor Conley Owens about the Durian Principle. That's Durian, Dorean. Yes, the Durian Principle. And this is a very interesting concept that, comes from the scripture. And what Conley does is he tries to go back into history and talk about how, the Reformed Fathers dealt with the principle of taking money for ministry, essentially, is the whole idea. And how they connect that in the scripture to false teaching. So the idea of taking money for access to the gospel, access to the truth of God, right? Paying money to get access to that. There's a clear connection in Scripture between that and false teachers, right? And so he's got a whole application of this in various different kinds of ways from the scripture, but also taken throughout history that I think is very interesting. And at the time when he approached me about this, this concept, I was selling my book, How to Social Justice Pharisees, How to Defeat the Woke Church. And I remember I was convinced enough by this Durian Principle that I stopped taking money for my book. So some people paid for the book, but that was before I knew about the Durian Principle. But then after I learned about the Durian Principle, I just started giving the book away. I mean, I wouldn't even charge for shipping. I just sent the book out. And I gave away probably 1,000 books, you know what I mean? And so here's the thing. Like, I was very convinced for myself, but I wasn't convinced enough to get up in arms about everybody else. And I feel like I'm still in that place, right? Like, I'm a little more convinced than I used to be, but I'm not going to be the kind that's going to be ripping apart G3 for this kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, right, G3, they've decided to take this down, or at least change how they're talking about it. I couldn't really tell. I mean, Josh Bice seemed to say that it was a bad look, but it's a little more than a bad look. It's bad action, right? It's a bad thing, is what most people were saying. But I got sympathy for Josh Bice, because this is how it's done, right? This is how it's done. This is how conferences are done. You know, most conferences, you know, you pay a price, a ticket price, to go in and get access to the teaching, which is, it's a little weird when you think of it that way, right? It's a little bit weird. Obviously, conferences have costs that need to be paid. We all understand that, right? And Connolly's not against conferences, you know, as such, and he's not against books, and he's not against you know pastors, of course, being paid for their work. You know, we understand there's obviously someone needs to pay for the ministry, right? But it is very relevant how that money is given, how that ministry is paid for, right? Are you paying for access, or are you paying for co-labor, right? Are people paying for co-labor? And it's more than a semantic difference, I think. And so, like I said, again, I'm convinced enough for myself, so I wasn't, you know, I stopped selling my book, right? So, you know, that was enough for me to say, oh, I'm stopping to selling, but I think he's onto something here, is what I was saying. But I'm not going to get up in arms about my conference friends. You know what I mean? That's not going to happen. And I think this is the thing that I think really should give a lot of my friends some pause about the Durian Principle, right? Because, and I think I said this to Conley in the conversation I had with him, right? Because at the time, Tim Keller was selling his entire, like, every sermon he's ever given on like a flash drive or something, or like a download, and it had this exorbitant price. I don't even want to guess what it was, because I don't want to get it wrong, but it was an insane price. So you could buy all his sermons, the audio of all his sermons, for this insane price. If anyone wants to look it up, check it out. And I said to Conley, I said, you know, everyone's up in arms about this because of the price, right? Because it's a high price. But when you think about it, where's the principle, right? Where's the principle? So would it make it any different if he was saying, okay, you can have access to my sermons for $20? Like, okay, like, sure, we wouldn't be like as offended because he wasn't charging, you know, an exorbitant rate for his teaching. But really, what we should be concerned about is that he's selling the words of God, like he's selling the teaching of the Scripture. He's selling the gospel to people. It shouldn't be about the price necessarily. It should be about the fact that he's actually doing it. That should be, you know, concerning us, right? And so I think that this gets attention because the legacy passes $1,000, right? $977 to be precise. That's why this gets attention. But I think I really do think that we need to stop and take a thought for a second. If G3 was selling this for $50, would anybody have anything to say about it? And if not, where is that cutoff point, right? Like, where is the point where it's like, well, it's too much. I mean, $50, that's okay, but you know, $100, that's too much, right? Like, and it's an unanswerable question, right? It's an unanswerable question because really, what's offending us is not so much the price, but the fact of what they are selling. And I think that there was one thing here that's definitely off limits, and that is selling premium seating to a worship session. You are selling premium seating with the best views of the worship session. That's got to give you pause. Like, I think at that point, you need to really take a step back and think to yourself, what are we doing? What are we doing here? You know, I think like, okay, reserve seating for like these messages. And this is another thing too, that I've always kind of hated about conferences, you know? I never know what to say about a conference speech. Is it a sermon? Is it a speech? What is it? You know what I mean? Like, I'm listening to this guy, he's quoting scripture, which is good. I'm not against quoting scripture, but am I hearing the words of God here, or is this the opinions of a person? Which I need to know the difference, right? I do. And this is why, like, if you look at my conference talks that I've given, you know, most of the time I start this talk and I say something like this. I say, listen, guys, I just want to be very clear. This is not a sermon, and I am not your pastor, right? This is my opinion of whatever the topic is. You know, this is me and my experience, and I'm telling you what I think about this topic. So just to be clear, you're probably going to hear some Bible verses in this. In fact, you are, because, you know, it's obviously how I think through things. But I'm not your pastor. You know what I mean? That's not me. So I try to be as very clear as I can, but I think that's the issue that we need to be focused on here. What are we doing? What are we doing? I mean, yeah, it's $1,000, so it's more in your face. It feels more offensive, right? But if the ticket price to this legacy pass was $100, or let's even just talk about the ticket price to the conference, right? Should we be doing that? Like, I'm not ready to go to the mat with people on this. I'm not. Listen, call me a fence sitter if you want, but I listen. I'm being honest. I'm not saying like you shouldn't have conferences with a ticket price. Like, maybe not, maybe not. But really, if you're granting that it's okay to have conferences with a ticket price, then it's okay, I think, to have a $1,000 conference, right? I mean, that's okay too, right? Is it really the price? Or is it the action? I think that those of you who are ripping G3 because of the worship session, the best premium seating for the worship session, I think that they deserve it. Obviously, that's more than a bad look. That's a bad thing. Very bad. But if you take that part out, like, what are you really offended by? The ticket price? Because if that's the case, then, I mean, I'm not really so sure that you've got too much of a principled position. It's more of just kind of an opinion. You know what I mean? And that counts too. I mean, your opinion counts too. There certainly is an ick factor to this kind of stuff. But yeah, man, a lot of this is just normal cringe, right? Like, I mean, who do these people think they are? Like, I don't know who the plenary speakers are, but it's like, you must pay to speak to me. Like, who do these people think they are? You know, that's how some people say, well, it's just a screening process, that way you don't get random crazies, coming to talk to you. But again, who do you think you are? You don't deserve random crazies coming to talk to you? I mean, I don't know, deal with it. Deal with it. I got random crazies coming to talk to me all the time, you know what I mean? And I just got to deal with it, because you know why? Because I'm just a regular person, and so are you. I'm a regular person, and so are you. I don't know, man. I mean, and this is the thing, like, I mean, the kind of conferences I go to, most of the people there, they're very level-headed, you know what I mean? Most of the people there, they'll chat with you, they'll talk to you, they'll hang out, and you don't have to pay a dime, they'll talk to you. And you know what? If you're crazy and you're acting crazy, they're going to deal with you accordingly. They're going to be like, dude, I got to go. You're too crazy. I got to go. I don't know, man. But this is the thing, man. The celebrity conference circuit. It's a very interesting dynamic here. And I really do think that we have to think through the principles here. What are the principles at play? I mean, yes, the $1,000 price, that gets attention. But what are the principles here? Besides you just feeling bad about it, what are the principles? Well, I'd argue that you should check out my video with Conley Owens on the Durian Principle. You can also get the Durian Principle book online, and guess what? It's free. You can get a book sent to you, a physical copy of the Durian Principle sent to you for $0, which obviously makes sense. In any case, check it out, think about it, let me know what you think. I hope you found this video helpful. God bless.